Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Sharon Shapira, and I'm the healthcare program manager at Startup Nation Central. One of our unique projects is the bridge we build between the Israeli medtech ecosystem to the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical complex in the world located in Houston. And we chose to focus on efforts in Houston basically for two main reasons. First, we found there medical institutions that are well known for their medical excellence. Second, unlike New York, Boston, and the Bay Area, we found there a fertile ground for collaboration. These hospitals are not overcrowded with technologies from all around the world who are looking for their collaboration, and therefore we find a fertile ground for Israeli technologies to start their footprints in the US. For us to promote this project, we established a collaboration in Houston with the Houston-based entity. And our representative there is Anat Zeidman, who is here with us today. Anat, do you want to introduce yourself in a second? In like 2 sentences? No? Okay.
So, Anat Zeidman. I am the Startup Nation Central partner on the ground, and I'm here to help support the companies specifically from Israel in any capacity, alongside with the team from the TMC who will introduce themselves shortly.
Thanks. So together with Anat and the team on the ground, we are mapping and establishing strategic relationships with these medical institutions. We understand their needs, and we offer them the solutions that Israel has to offer and the technologies that can help them to overcome their challenges. I'm pleased to introduce the TMCx team that's here with us today. They will elaborate on the program, on the Accelerator, followed by Tom Mayblum, the CEO of Sonaris. Tom participated in the Accelerator in the last medical devices cohort, and he will share with us his experience. During these presentations, you can write us questions by using the chat box, and we will make sure to facilitate the questions. The Texas Medical Center team, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sharon. It's a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon, and we appreciate your time today. We're excited to tell you about the opportunities here at the Texas Medical Center. I'm Emily Reiser. I work as a strategist with TMC Innovation, and we're here to be your point of contact to get access to the 21 hospitals and 61 member institutions that are part of the Texas Medical Center. So the Texas Medical Center is basically the landowners of this ecosystem upon which these hospitals sit. And we seek to have strategic alliances between those institutions, and in particular around innovation. So we have this Accelerator program that's designed to bring in the most innovative companies that are solving problems that our clinical and academic partners may need to solve. In addition, we help those companies coming in to understand the ecosystem, to get access to the key opinion leaders, the clinical drivers, the people who can make decisions from providing care on the ground level all the way up through the executive offices. So our role is to help you come here and navigate what your needs are, get connected to the right resources, and then just support you along your entire journey. So I'll let Matt introduce himself as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Lemming. I'm Innovation Analyst here at the Texas Medical Center. I have been here for about 10 months now, and actually in the last cohort I worked with Tom, who will be speaking after us here. I very much enjoyed working with the startups that have come through here so far. The Israeli companies, it seems, are very motivated, and we get a lot of applicants from Israel, and quite frankly, the majority of them are pretty impressive applications. So really excited to be here talking to you guys this morning. So that's all I have to say right now. So, oh yeah, Tom, sorry, go ahead.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So hi everyone, my name is Tom Mayblum. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sonaris. And as Matt and Sharon said, I was the participant in the number 7 cohort. I think it was the previous medical device cohort. So I'm guessing TMCx guys will tell you later, but basically there are usually 2 cohorts a year. One is a medical device cohort, and the other is more of a digital health cohort. So we were part of the medical device cohort, the only Israeli company that was there, part of a 23 company group. And basically, I'll be happy to tell you more about my experience. Should I do it now, guys, or should I do it later? Or you're in mute?
Sorry about that. Please share more about your experience, and then after that, we'll go into more of the logistical details, but wanting you to have a chance to share about how it went overall for you.
Okay, great. So for us, I think it was a tremendous opportunity basically to actually meet the healthcare ecosystem in the US that you hear about and you talk about and you talk with when you're in Israel, but you don't really experience, you don't really understand what motivates them and what their incentive is until you actually engage with them locally and in person. You only then start to realize what healthcare executives mean when they say they're looking for innovation, which is quite different than what we think about when we think about innovation, where we come from a technology background, for instance. And basically, TMCx has given us this really direct connection to many healthcare executives, to key opinion leaders in the Texas Medical Center, which is a huge center with many institutes like Houston Methodist and Memorial, and several others that we've worked with, MD Anderson, for instance. And basically, I'm guessing the guys will talk about logistics later, but we have the curriculum of the 6 week that we had, many lectures about how to develop a medical device company and regulatory and reimbursement issues, and how hospitals decide how to purchase a device, how their analysis committees work. But also you have many one-on-one meetings with advisors, with experts that are all free of charge, which is quite unique, I think, when you compare it to other accelerator programs. And also this is, I guess, one of the most, I would say, overwhelming programs in terms of how extensive and intensive it is for the participants. So the first 3 weeks we had a boot camp where there are 3 weeks of full schedule of lectures of 9 to 5. And then on top of that, you want to get your own meetings with any executive or any doctor that you want to meet. And actually TMCx helps you do that. You can supply them with a list of everyone you want to meet around TMC, and they'll help you engage and introduce you to them. And you get to meet with really the leading doctors and the leading physicians, leading executives in all of these institutes. So that was really helpful. And well, you should decide what your goals are when you enter this program, but the goals usually for companies are to get to initiate clinical collaborations with the institutes in Houston, try and get a clinical pilot or a trial, even an engagement or agreement for starting a trial, and also find key opinion leaders that you can engage with and basically bring on board with your advisory board. So I think this is these are very interesting things that you can work with or work on when you're in TMCx. I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding logistics on the side of from the side of the participants, and how do you mitigate all the overwhelming schedule that you have as a participant, running between meetings and lectures and one-on-one advisory sessions. But really, this was really intensive. And I think one other thing that I would like to note is the unique experience we had was also due to the, I would say, environment, or the open environment that we had in TMCx. So that was also from the side of the staff that was really friendly and really open and really, made us feel part of the team. But also I think the other participants in the program. So we had 23 companies, and it never felt like a competition between the companies. It really felt like one group that really tries to help each other. And we really learned a lot from each other. So I think I personally stay in touch with many of the participants from my cohort, and we really, to this day, try to help each other with meeting investors, with meeting key opinion leaders, and trying to advise each other. So that's been really great as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Tom, for sharing your experience. We're so glad to have you with us today to help share more about the program with all of the participants who are interested. Now I'm going to go ahead and share a screen so that we can make a presentation about the overall program logistics and things like that. So if you just give me 1 minute. And great. Okay. Can you see the screen now? It looks like it. So just as a brief overview of the Texas Medical Center, the scale and the scope of what happens here is what enables us to provide so much opportunity to companies that are coming through our programs. There are over 10 million patients that are coming through, and now 63 member institutions, ranging from focusing on mental health to private clinics to large hospital systems. These systems overall have over 180,000 annual surgeries. I think there's a new operation starting every 3 seconds. And if you take just this 2 square mile radius that we have here, it does encompass the 8th largest business district in the US by GDP. So here are just a few of the member institutions that we mentioned. Like Tom said, we have Memorial Hermann and MD Anderson, as well as other research-oriented institutions, really innovative hospitals, including Texas Children's and then Methodist. And so we help you to navigate who you should talk to at each of these institutions, what your strategic plan should be in terms of getting those interactions with those stakeholders at each of these institutions and more. So a little bit more about the space that we have here. TMCx is one program of many that encompasses our vision to create an ecosystem of medical device innovation here in Houston. And so our space here is the hub of that, but we're flanked by strategic partners, including Johnson & Johnson and AT&T. And we're continuing to grow our strategic partnerships with investors and large corporates, venture arms, in order to create more access to these opportunities for everyone that is involved with our space here. So TMCx is our accelerator, where you'll have access to an office space, conference rooms, everything that you would need. We also have X Plus next door, which is for more established startups that have been here for a while and have their offices out of here. It's also a great resource for connections for all of our X companies because they've already interfaced with these hospital key opinion leaders and can help provide perspective on their experience. AT&T Foundry is particularly interesting for a medical device cohort. They have a hardware and software developer on staff, and they provide free consulting services for anyone looking to make their device connected to the AT&T system, the cellular network here in the US. And so that's a great partner of ours. We don't have any lab space or prototyping space beyond 3D printing here in our space, but we do have partnerships with entities like Johnson & Johnson, which has a JLabs facility next door. So if you need any wet lab space, then you can use that next door as well. It's a separate application process, but we do work closely with them too. Out of the 20 Johnson & Johnson JLabs locations around the world, this location next door to us has the most medical device density out of any of them. So medical devices is really a focus of ours here in Houston. With that in mind, Johnson & Johnson created a brand new place called the Center for Device Innovation. Unlike JLabs, this is the only one in the world. They're focusing on really early stage prototyping. They have a huge machine shop, bench space, et cetera. And they do provide early prototyping services for anyone that fits within the Johnson & Johnson model and aligns with their therapeutic areas. We, as the TMC Innovation staff, will help you navigate those relationships with Johnson & Johnson as well and help you make sure that you get access to the right people at the right time. So not only do we do that with all of our clinical partners, which we have over 100 clinical champions that we work with on our advisory team, but we also work to connect you with everything else that your company may need, from communication about your pitch to media training to getting in touch with these corporates and investors. We have happy hours, networking events, and all these other things to facilitate this overall ecosystem. So while our program is differentiated in that we have really focused on access to clinical, regulatory, reimbursement advice for all of our companies that come through, we do really provide that other experience to get the networking that you need for your more strategic and business development missions as well. So let's dive in a little bit into how the program works. Most importantly, there's no cost to participate in this program. We do not charge any money to be a part of the program, nor do we take equity as a member of our ecosystem. You will be responsible for your own travel and lodging costs. So we take 2 cohorts per year, as Tom mentioned. Digital health is happening right now in the spring, and medical device will start again in the fall. The start date for 2019 is August 5th, and our demo day, the end date is November 7th. I'll go into a little bit more detail about all of the curriculum weeks in a minute. So this overall 3-month program is where we'll give you access to our advisor network, programming and curriculum, and make sure that you get connected to the right people at the right time. So I think that brings us to our application link. You can find us on GUST. Our application deadline is May 24th. TMC Innovation also has a blog on Medium where you can find more tips and helpful resources for how to apply to our Accelerator program, what the differentiating factors are, and just general tips to make your application stand out. Once we review your application, we will ask a set number of those companies for an interview, which can be done remotely over the phone, where we'll hear more about what your plans are for your business, but also while you're here at TMC. And then after that point, we will be notifying companies in late June in order for everyone to be ready to be here by August 5th. So that's the general overlay of the program. I will just spend a little bit more time talking about the programming in general and what you can expect about your day-to-day experience while you're here. So we've changed the program up a little bit since Tom's been a part of it in response to the feedback that we've received from the past participants. We will only be having structured programming in the morning from 9 a.m. to noon. And then we'll have a lunch and learn. That's optional for everyone, but we will structure it around things that you might need, like legal services, etc. And then in the afternoon, we'll have a little bit more unstructured time, which means you'll have more time to, do meetings for your own business, as well as meet with these key opinion leaders here in town. And we'll also be scheduling events like tours to the different hospitals and facilities in the surgical departments, et cetera, to make sure that you can get a better sense of everything that's going on. And we'll also be having roadshows. So for example, all of the surgical tools will go together to pitch to MD Anderson Surgical Department, for example. That's something that we're working out right now. So every year we innovate on our programs and make sure that it's really beneficial for you and all of our teams. And we take your feedback very seriously and do try to improve every single year. So that's something that's changing this year. The dates for the program will be August 5th through 16th, September 2nd through 13th, September 30th through October 11th, and October 31st through November 7th. These will be the times that you'll be required to be in Houston. We do require one founder or someone who can drive business decisions for the company. We do realize that it's a lot of time that we're asking out of these companies, but it really is the most beneficial and you'll get the most out of the program if you send someone in the executive level of the business who is entitled and empowered to make decisions that can really drive the business forward and drive those customer relationships forward as well. We also require a working prototype for entry into the accelerator. So those are kind of the two main things that we're looking for. Beyond that, we're also looking for any level of traction that you may have already. So what kind of animal data do you have so far that really justifies that your device will work clinically? Who on your team has a clinical background and is supporting you, whether that be from an advisory capacity, et cetera? How have you surrounded yourself with the people that are going to help you get your medical device into the hands of the clinic? It's okay if you have CE mark already, but this program is better for companies who do not have FDA approval yet, because we will be going through a lot of regulatory strategy here in this cohort. We do have a lot of connected devices and people that straddle the line between medical device and digital health. In general, we do encourage you to apply. We review every application and look through it very carefully. So if you're not sure, do go ahead and apply, and we'll just let you know to invite you back to our digital health if that's the better fit for you. But the way that we do make that decision is where you are in your FDA regulatory pathway specifically. So with that being said, Anat, do you have anything else that you want to add about your support here? Or
I will just say that it's rather unique in comparison to some of the other countries or even the US that get accepted into this program. You do have a slight unique advantage in the sense that you do have me here on the ground full-time, helping support you with my network and with the strategic partnerships that I, alongside with the SNC, have developed here on the ground over the course of the last almost 8 months. So
yeah,
don't really know what to call me, but other than that, I do help support this team. We work together very closely. We do align ourselves, and I will probably be sitting in on a lot of some of the meetings and discussions that they have with you, just so that I know where you stand.
Absolutely. Our companies from Israel have a huge advantage over every other company that comes through because it really is a lot to do with all of Anat's network and all of the hard work and passion that she puts into every single one of the companies that comes through here. So it's a huge advantage to have Anat as part of this team, and we love working with her. So we appreciate all
We've
of
been through
that.
one cohort
Yeah,
together,
we have,
and so we speak from experience.
Yeah.
So they have to know.
Absolutely. Well, I think
Do we have any questions?
that's it from our end. So I'll leave this slide up here, or I guess we can stop sharing the screen and we can go into some question and answers. Sharon, do you want me to go through them, or do you want to highlight some of them first?
So I have a few questions of my own, and then we can go by the questions that people wrote us. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So I have. Can you actually share with us a bit about the success stories of companies that graduated from the Accelerator, both from the digital health but also from the medical device cohort? I think that will demonstrate the companies here in Israel the real added value of this curriculum and program.
Yeah, absolutely. So we measure success in a couple of different ways. While you're a part of the program, we are really pushing for big conversations with these key opinion leaders that is going to lead toward some kind of letter of intent or a memorandum of understanding that will lead to a clinical pilot or a clinical trial. So in our digital health program right now, what we're really looking for are potential customers, and that usually takes the form of a small pilot study. And so we are measuring success within these 4 months of this program, all around how are the engagements that we are navigating with these companies leading to a potential customer pathway. In general, of course, the sales pathway in hospitals tends to take several years. So we're not necessarily looking for that conversion to happen in the 4-month time frame, but we're looking for the path to that process. For the medical devices, it is a little bit different. We, of course, do see some clinical pilots starting as well, of course, clinical trials sites being set up, as well as research collaborations for anything to evaluate how that device would be, implemented, or the economics behind it, things like that. So what we are looking for is sticky relationships, and that takes a lot of different forms, but we want to see those happening in the 4 months of the program. Most of the success stories of our program tend to happen about 2 years after the program, because that's when those pilots are finally starting to convert to sales rather rapidly. For example, there was a digital health company from our past cohort who is now still based in Texas, but is really seeing all of their Houston clients convert now, about 1.5 years later, since they started the program. And so we love keeping in touch with our alumni and continuing to support them. Overall, we've had about 3 exits, 2 in medical device and 1 in digital health. And we have lots of companies that have gone on to raise pretty big fundraising rounds after the program. So that's another metric of success for us. And lots of them are raising in the tens of millions to even, 15s of millions of dollars for their medical device companies right now, and continuing to accelerate their progress. So we're still waiting on a few more exits that we're hoping to come in the next 2019. I think we'll have 2, potentially 3 medical device companies exiting this year. We've only been around for about 4 years, so because our timelines are quite long in the medical device side especially, those do take a little bit longer to see that particular exit milestone. But overall, most of the companies that have come through the program are still existing, still raising, still in clinical pilots and in clinical trials, and many are starting to sell their products now too. So lots of good things happening. The way that we measure success for accelerating is really those fast pathways to these clinical champions, though.
Sounds really good. Can you elaborate a bit about the application process? What's going on around after applying and applying for the cohort?
Yeah, absolutely. So the application process is not meant to be too burdensome. It probably looks very similar to other applications that you may have seen. We're evaluating team and history, future plans, how well prepared we think that your team would be to achieve those plans. We'll need a slide deck. We look at those pretty heavily, so definitely make sure that that's up to date. Once we have your application in hand, we'll evaluate it as a team and make a decision about interview or no interview. After that point, we will schedule a time to have another Zoom meeting and one-on-one with your team and our team, where we're all together asking questions and making clarifications and better understanding what you're looking for out of the program. After that point, we'll also have sent your application to one of our clinical collaborators to better understand the potential fit here in the Texas Medical Center. So we are looking to get feedback and buy-in from these hospitals right away. And then after that point, we will continue to do the interview process with several other companies and continue to stay in touch with the companies at that point. As I said, we are starting interview processes in the next in the next week. So the earlier you get your application in, the earlier we'll get the interview done, and the more time we will spend with your application. If all the applications that happen at the last minute all have to be evaluated at the same time very quickly. And so we just have to spend less time on them. So it's really an advantage to apply early. And anything else that you'd like to add, Matt, on that process? Or I think that's
pretty much, pretty well covered.
So
Do you have any tips for the Israeli companies? What should they emphasize in their application form?
Yeah, so the thing that we want to know is, how are we going to be able to help you accelerate your business? So why are you looking for clinical connections in Houston, and what research have you done on our member institutions? You can find the member institutions list on our TMC website. And like, what clinical application are you really looking to solve? The clinical unmet need is very important to us because our program is so focused on the clinical applications. And then, what will having access to these surgeons, key opinion leaders, CEOs, what will that do in order to accelerate your business forward? What questions can we answer alongside you? The more that you identify really what's missing and align that with the ways that we can help you and the things that we just talked about, then the better your application will be.
Perfect. Thank you for all these answers. We have another questions from someone in the audience. If a company has developed an automatic recognition engine for detection of cancer in mammography exams, is it relevant for this cohort or the digital health cohort? So in other words, maybe you can emphasize once again, what are the differences between the digital health cohort and the medical device cohort, and what are the prerequisites for each of them?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And clinical decision support is definitely a big area that the hospitals are interested in here. So it's definitely a clinical unmet need and something of interest to us in general. the medical device, we do require some kind of piece of hardware to be involved. And so, or we can also consider ones that are heavily regulated by the FDA. So if you're going through software as a medical device, or if you think you have a really burdensome regulatory pathway that you haven't quite figured out yet, then we may be able to consider that for medical device. In general, if it's an AI tool that's only using the software and algorithms to make a clinical decision support, that's definitely something that we would likely defer to the digital health cohort for next year. Again, I know it may seem like a waste of time, but if you're one of those companies that's on the fence, we actually do encourage you to go ahead and apply so that we can just review it, and we'll have your company's information in our system to invite you to apply to the next one. And it'll just help us keep you on the radar. So that's my general advice. Software as a medical device, we're of course always working through, but in general for medical device, we are looking for a piece of hardware that has a prototype already finished, working prototype, and significant time in the regulatory process on the FDA side that you're seeking some guidance on, because that's something that we do provide here in the program.
Great. Tom, are you with us? I mean, can you answer a question?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So I know you participated in the Accelerator after graduating from an Israeli incubator. So can you emphasize for us what are the differentiators that you saw between these two programs?
Yeah, sure. So we're part of an Israeli incubator, which is part of the Israel Innovation Authority. They provide funding, and basically from the concept stage of the company, where we started with an idea, with a clinical need, and we developed a prototype and even tested it in a clinical pilot here in Israel. Now, for us, the next stage when we target the US market, which is the primary market for us, was actually to, first of all, validate our assumptions on the US market, understand whether the healthcare system and decision makers could validate what we think is the value proposition of our product, and then to basically understand the regulatory strategy, or to verify it more correctly, and to see what are the next steps for us to get into the market, start collaborating with clinical entities in the US to maybe do another trial to have our basically validation in the US as well, and how to basically get it into the market as fast as we can. So I think, as mentioned as well by TMCx, the right stage, I think, to join TMCx is where you have gotten through the initial technological validation of your product, where you know that it works, you have the prototype working, and now you have to answer more of business questions and regulatory questions and get to the next stage of getting your device to patients. I think that's the best stage to join. Also, I think it really helps to get clinicians on board when you can show them something where they can actually see what you've built, and they can touch it, and they can even test it. Obviously not on patients, but just to see how it works themselves and appreciate it. I think that is really a good way to get them on your side and to have them want to join you in your effort to enter the market.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think we'll take last questions from the audience. Back to you, Emily. We have here a question about the maturity stage of the companies. A company in a preclinical stage, should they apply? So can you please highlight what is the ideal maturity stage of the company for applying to this program?
Yeah, great question again. And I think Tom did a great job of addressing that a little bit too in his last answer. So the reason that we have minimum requirements for the program is because, as Tom said, if you have enough of a little bit of a starting seed point, the conversations with those clinical champions and those hospital administrators go a lot faster. And so we're really looking to accelerate the people that have already gotten those points. If you are preclinical and have animal data with a working prototype that you've used in your animals, then you're a great fit for the program. It's definitely a stage that we're very used to seeing, and that does well here. We also do support for product development. So we have product development firms here if you're interested in that, ranging from small boutique up to really large services that can take you all the way through sales and distribution of that device. We have connections through the prototyping stage, the regulatory stage, and further clinical trials, both in animals and then of course starting to get into human trials at that point. So yeah, we have lots of support systems for a company at that stage, preclinical with animal data and a working prototype. That sounds great. I'd love to see your application.
Perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Tom, for joining from San Francisco. Thank you guys in Houston. Time differences are quite challenging here. And thank you everyone for being part of the webinar. If you have additional questions, you're more than welcome to approach me, and I can connect you to the relevant people at TMCx or to Tom for relevant information. Thank you for joining us. I will share with you now my email for the ones who want to further discuss this program.
Thank you, Sharon. We appreciate you putting this together, and happy to be working with Startup Nation.
Same here.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Guys. Yeah. Nice seeing you guys again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom.
Good seeing you, Tom.
Bye.